Welcome back to Lina's Romantasy collection, where the alphas are dramatic and the heroines don't take any of their nonsense. Quick question for the pack before we dive into today's chaos. What are you doing while listening right now? Let me know in the comments, and drop a dog emoji if you think pets are the real rulers of the house. Today, we have a wild one. It's funny, it's tense, and it involves a fiercely independent vet tech who literally prescribes a chill pill to the city's most terrifying Lycan King. But before we start, if you want to support the channel and get early access to stories just like this one, hit that join button down below. It helps us keep the lights on and the Romantasy stories coming. Now, grab your headphones and get comfortable. The fixer is in, and the king is about to meet his match. Let's get into the story. Chapter 1. The lobby of the Grand Vista Hotel smelled like rain and expensive wood, but mostly it smelled like a man having a total meltdown. Rhett stood by the check-in desk, his broad shoulders casting a shadow over the terrified staff. He wore a black suit that fit him like a second skin, though his silk tie was already gone, likely ripped off in a fit of rage. His gold eyes glowed with a light that didn't belong to a normal person. "I said medium rare," Rhett's voice boomed. It wasn't just loud. It felt like a vibration in the floorboards. "This steak has the texture of a work boot. Do I look like a man who eats leather?" Gwen stood 10 feet away, her canvas tote bag slung over her shoulder. She had just finished a double shift at the vet clinic. Her navy blue tunic had a smear of cat bile on the hem, and her scuffed work boots felt like they were made of lead. She just wanted to go home, sit on her couch, and forget that her bank account held exactly $12. If he yells one more time, I might actually lose my mind. I deal with rabid huskies that have better manners than this guy. The waiter trembled, holding a silver tray. I am so sorry, sir. We will fix it right away." "Fix it?" Rhett stepped closer. He looked like he was about to flip the marble desk. "You've wasted 20 minutes of my life. My time is incredibly valuable." Gwen felt a snap in her brain. It was the sound of her last thread of patience breaking. She reached into her tote bag, her hand brushing against her heavy-duty stapler and a bag of bacon-flavored dog treats before she found what she needed. She pulled out a small plastic bottle filled with herbal supplements. She marched forward, her heavy boots clunking on the tile. She didn't bow. She didn't tremble. She walked right into Rhett's personal space, smelling the cedar and rain scent that clung to him. "Here," Gwen said, tossing the bottle at his chest. Rhett caught it by reflex, his large hand snapping shut around the plastic. He looked down at the label. "Chill out, herbal stress relief?" He looked back at her, his gold eyes wide with shock. "What is this?" "It's a chill pill," Gwen snapped, crossing her arms. "Take 1, take 5, just stop barking at the staff. You're making a scene, and frankly, you're embarrassing yourself." The lobby went silent. The receptionist looked like she was about to faint. Rhett leaned down, his face inches from hers. He was tall, forcing Gwen to tilt her head back. "He's looking at me like I'm a snack. If he tries anything, he's getting a staple in the leg." "Do you know who I am, human?" Rhett growled. The sound was low, like a car engine idling. "I know you're a guy who is way too upset about a piece of meat," Gwen countered. "And I know I have a $2,000 mortgage bill sitting in my bag and a car that barely starts. Your steak problems don't impress me." Rhett's jaw tightened. He looked at the bottle, then at the glass water bottle sitting on the check-in desk. He grabbed the glass bottle and squeezed. The glass didn't just break. It turned to dust and shards under his grip. Water splashed across the marble, but he didn't flinch as the sharp edges cut into his palm. "I don't take pills," Rhett said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. He stepped even closer, his heat radiating off him like a furnace.
"You want me to calm down? You want me to stop being a monster? Make me shiver, Gwen." Is he for real? This is the most dramatic thing I've ever seen. Is he waiting for me to clap?
"Clean up that glass," Gwen said, pointing at the mess, "and pay for the bottle. That's step 1 of being a person." She turned on her heel and walked out the sliding glass doors. Her heart hammered against her ribs, but she refused to look back. "I definitely just signed my own death warrant, didn't I? At least the mortgage won't be my problem if I'm dead." Behind her, Rhett watched her go. He looked at the orange bottle in his hand, then tossed it, the plastic skidding across the tile and hitting the heel of Gwen's boot before she vanished through the doors. She snatched it up without looking back. For the first time in 100 years, the air in his lungs felt different. He didn't feel rage. He felt a spark. Chapter 2. Gwen sat at her kitchen table, staring at the bright red past due notice. The paper felt like a lead weight in her hand. Her grandmother's house was old. The porch groaned in the wind and the roof leaked, but it was all she had left. If she didn't find $2,000 by Friday, the bank would take the keys. "I could sell a kidney," she muttered to the empty room. "Or maybe I can find a way to sue that crazy guy from the hotel." She stood up and grabbed her tote bag. She needed to get to the clinic for her shift. She stepped out onto the porch and headed for her navy blue sedan. It was a hunk of metal held together by rust and prayers. She walked to the back, gave the left bumper a sharp kick, and the trunk popped open. She tossed her bag inside, then climbed into the driver's seat. The engine groaned. It sounded like a blender full of rocks. "Please start. Just one more time." On the third try, the car roared to life, shaking Gwen's teeth. As she pulled out of her gravel driveway, a matte, dark gray SUV blocked her path. It was huge, sleek, and looked like it could run over a tank. The tinted window rolled down, revealing Rhett. He had a messy, blood-stained rag tied around his hand, and his gold eyes were fixed on her. Of course he found me. I bet he has a whole team of people just to track down girls who offend him. Gwen rolled down her window. "You're blocking my driveway. Move the tank or I'm calling the cops." Rhett leaned out the window. "I did some research. You're a vet tech. You fix broken animals." "I fix things that have a soul," Gwen snapped. "Which explains why I gave you those pills yesterday. Now move." Rhett opened his door and stepped out. He looked even bigger in the daylight, his black suit crisp and clean. He walked over to her navy blue sedan and put a hand on the hood. The car hissed at him. "I have a proposition," Rhett said. "I need an assistant. Someone who isn't afraid to tell me when I'm being embarrassing. My last 3 assistants quit because they couldn't handle my aura." Gwen let out a sharp laugh. "Assistant? Is that what you call it? I've seen movies like this. You want a human doll to follow you around so you can show off how rich and scary you are. I'm not interested in being your plaything." He thinks he can buy me because I live in a house with peeling paint. Rich guys are all the same. Rhett's face went stiff. He looked genuinely offended. "I don't need a plaything, as you put it. I need a handler. Someone to manage my schedule, deal with my pack, and take care of my dog." "Your dog?" Gwen's ears perked up. She was a sucker for animals. "He's difficult," Rhett admitted, his eyes shifting to the side.
He doesn't listen to me. He thinks he's in charge. He needs a professional. Gwen looked at the mortgage notice sitting on her passenger seat. Then she looked at Rhett.
How much does it pay? $5,000 a week, Rhett said. Starting now. Gwen's jaw almost hit the steering wheel. That was more than she made in 3 months. She could save the house, fix her car, and still have money left for a decent meal. Fine, Gwen said, grabbing her tote bag and stepping out of the car. She made sure her stapler was tucked right at the top of the bag. But let's get one thing straight. I'm the boss of the dog, and if you even think about trying to make me a plaything, I will staple your eyelids shut. Understood? Rhett actually smiled. It was a small, sharp movement of his lips. Understood. Get in the car, Gwen. He's way too happy about me threatening him. This guy is a total weirdo. Chapter 3. The SUV ride to Rhett's estate was quiet, mostly because Gwen was too busy staring at the leather interior and wondering if her navy blue sedan was still sitting in the driveway, or if someone had already stolen it for scrap metal. When they pulled up to the house, Gwen's breath hitched. It wasn't a house. It was a fortress. Nice shack, Gwen said, her voice dripping with sarcasm to hide how impressed she was. It serves its purpose, Rhett replied. He led her through the front doors. The floor was polished stone, and the walls were covered in old paintings of men who looked just as grumpy as Rhett. Suddenly, a blur of fur and noise came charging down the hallway. It was a short, round, tricolor corgi. He had stubby legs, a very fluffy butt, and a brass tag on his collar that jangled with every step. This is Barnie, Rhett said, his voice taking on the booming tone he used to lead his armies. Barnie, stay. Sit. I am your king. Sit. Barnie didn't sit. He didn't even look at Rhett. He skidded to a stop in front of Gwen and let out a series of happy, high-pitched yaps. He began to circle her boots, his tail wagging so hard his entire back half wiggled. Gwen felt the tension leave her body. She knelt down on the cold floor, ignoring the way her tunic bunched up. Well, hello there, Mr. Barnie. Who's a good boy? Who's the real king of this house? Barnie let out a joyful woof and flopped onto his back, exposing his round belly. Gwen laughed, her fingers finding the sweet spot behind his ears. She could smell the faint scent of cedar on his fur, likely from being around Rhett. Finally, someone in this house with some sense. This dog is a genius. Rhett stood over them, his hands on his hips. He looked like a pouting child. He never does that for me. I'm the king of the Lycans. I lead thousands of wolves, and my own pet treats me like I'm a piece of furniture. Maybe it's because you yell at him, Gwen said, not looking up. Animals don't care about your alpha status. They care about who has the best snacks and the best scratches. I give him the finest organic beef, Rhett argued. Yeah, but do you give him belly rubs? Gwen countered. She reached into her bag and pulled out a bacon-flavored treat. Barney's eyes went wide. He sat instantly, his ears perking up. See? Gwen said. He knows what he wants. Barney took the treat gently from her hand, then turned his head to look at Rhett. The dog's expression changed instantly. He went from happy to judging in less than a second. The dog literally just rolled his eyes at him. I love this animal. Rhett stepped forward, trying to look imposing. Regardless of his lack of loyalty, you are here to work. I have a meeting with my pack leaders in an hour. You need to make sure the room is ready and that no one starts a fight. I'm a vet tech, not a bodyguard, Gwen reminded him. "You're a fixer now," Rhett said. He turned to walk away, but Barnie had other plans. The Corgi trotted over to Rhett's matte black leather shoes, expensive, hand-stitched calfskin. With a look of pure focus, Barnie lifted his leg and let out a steady stream right onto Rhett's left foot. Rhett froze. He looked down at his soaked shoe where Barnie had just finished marking his territory. He looked back at Gwen. He did that on purpose. Gwen burst out laughing. She couldn't help it. "I think he's giving you his opinion on your meeting. Looks like you've got a leak, King." Rhett's gold eyes flared. "Gwen, fix this." "I'll get the paper towels," she said, still giggling. "But I think you should just wear socks. It's a better look for you." Chapter 4. "No way in hell," Rhett said, staring at Gwen's navy blue sedan. "I am not getting into that heap. It looks like it was fished out of a swamp." "It's my car," Gwen said, tapping the roof. "Your SUV was sent away to be detailed because you threw a fit and refused to sit in it with a pea-soaked shoe. So, either we take my car to the hardware store for the supplies I need, or we walk. And you don't look like a walker." Gwen needed floor cleaner and a new mop, and she refused to use Rhett's fixer money on delivery fees when she could just drive 5 minutes down the road. She also wanted to see him suffer a little in a car that didn't have heated seats. Rhett let out a heavy sigh. His broad shoulders slumped. He folded his large frame into the passenger seat. His knees were practically hitting his chin. He looked like a giant, trying to fit into a dollhouse. "Why is it so loud?" he asked as Gwen climbed in. "That's the soul of the car," Gwen said. She reached into the back and grabbed her tote bag, pulling out the keys. She gave the dashboard a friendly pat. "Come on, baby. Don't let me down in front of the king." She turned the key. The car let out a screech that sounded like a cat being stepped on. Then came the clunk. A deep, metallic thud echoed through the floorboards. "If this car dies now, I will never hear the end of it. Please just make it to the store." "What was that?" Rhett asked, his hands gripping the dashboard. "That was the sound of something failing. We are going to die in a navy blue coffin." "Relax, Your Highness," Gwen said, shifting into gear. The car jerked forward, making Rhett's head snap back. "It always does that. It's just the engine reminding us it's alive." As they drove down the winding road away from the estate, the clunking got louder. Clunk, clunk, thud. It was rhythmic, like a drum set falling down a flight of stairs. "I can feel the road through the floor," Rhett whispered. He looked genuinely terrified. "I have fought rogue packs. I have survived silver blades. But this is true fear." "Oh, stop being a baby," Gwen laughed. She was enjoying this way too much. "It's got character. It's got charm." "It has a hole in the carpet," Rhett pointed out. He's pouting again. For a king, he's really bad at being tough when things aren't perfect. Suddenly, the car let out a final, violent bang. The steering wheel shook in Gwen's hands, and the navy blue sedan drifted toward the shoulder. Gwen managed to bring it to a stop just as a cloud of steam billowed from under the hood. "We're dead," Rhett said. "The car has exploded." "It didn't explode. It's just overheated," Gwen said, stepping out. She walked to the front of the car. The navy blue paint was hot to the touch. Rhett climbed out, looking like he wanted to kiss the ground. He walked around to the front, but as he did, his foot caught on something. With a loud crack, the front bumper, which had been hanging on by a single bolt, fell off completely. It hit the gravel with a sad, metallic thud. Gwen stared at the bumper. Rhett stared at Gwen.
I didn't touch it, Rhett said, holding his hands up. I swear it just gave up on life. Gwen sighed, looking at her broken car. Well, King, looks like we're walking after all. Hope those fancy shoes are comfortable. Rhett looked at his shoes, then at the long road ahead. I hate this car, Gwen. The feeling is mutual, I'm sure, she muttered, grabbing her tote bag from the seat. Now help me move the bumper into the weeds. I'm not leaving it in the middle of the road. He's going to be complaining about this for the next 3 years. I should have just taken the bus. Chapter 5. The walk back to the estate took a toll on Rhett. His $3,000 calfskin shoes were not meant for gravel roads. He stepped over a puddle, his face twisted in a scowl. Gwen marched ahead, her heavy work boots crunching the ground with a steady beat. Her tote bag bumped against her hip. The strap dug into her shoulder, but she didn't complain. She had a house to save. My feet are ruined, Rhett muttered. He checked his phone. The screen was cracked from a drop earlier that morning. I have never walked this much in my life. Rhett, my feet are on fire. How does she move so fast in those heavy boots? It's good for you, King, Gwen tossed over her shoulder. Builds character. Or at least it builds some leg muscle. You look like you spend too much time in the back of a car. He's huffing like a broken steam engine. This is great for my soul. They reached the tall iron gates of the estate. The sun started to dip low. It turned the sky a bruised purple color. Rhett stopped at the front door. He looked at Gwen. His gold eyes were dark. He leaned against the doorframe. He tried to look cool, but the mud on his pants ruined the vibe. I have a dinner meeting tomorrow, Rhett said. He kept his voice low. I need you to dress up for me. Gwen stopped. She gripped the strap of her bag. Her heart gave a hard thud. Here it was. The moment the rich guy tried to turn her into his toy. She had seen this movie before. First they buy the clothes, then they expect the person inside the clothes to follow every order. Gwen, here it comes. The creep factor is finally out in the open. Dress up? Gwen asked. Her voice was sharp. She pulled her heavy-duty stapler out of her bag. She didn't point it at him yet. She just held it so he could see the metal shine. What kind of dressing up are we talking about, Rhett? Because if you want a doll for your collection, you picked the wrong girl. Rhett looked at the stapler. He looked at her messy hair and the cat bile stain on her tunic. He let out a breath that sounded like a growl. Not a doll, Rhett snapped. I have a meeting with the alpha of the North Pack. He thinks I am weak because I don't have a mate. He thinks he can take my land. I need you to look like a professional assistant. I need you to look like you belong at my side. Rhett, she thinks I want a doll. I just need someone who won't faint when the alphas snarl at each other. So you want me to lie? Gwen asked. I want you to do your job, Rhett countered. You are my fixer. My image is broken. Fix it. There is a box in your room. It has a tailored suit in it. I had it custom tailored for you. Wear it. Or don't. But if you show up in that stained tunic, the meeting is over before it starts. Custom tailored office clothes? I could probably pay my mortgage with what this cost. Gwen looked at the stapler in her hand. She felt a bit of shame, but she pushed it down. She wasn't a plaything. She was an employee, a very expensive employee. Fine, Gwen said. I'll wear the dress, but I'm keeping my boots under the table. She is the most difficult human I have ever met. Why can't I stop looking at her? Rhett turned and walked into the house. He limped a little. Gwen followed him. Barnie met them in the hall. The dog ignored Rhett and went straight to Gwen. He wagged his tail so hard he hit Rhett's sore shin.
Rhett didn't say a word. He just closed his eyes and headed for the stairs. Gwen headed for her room. She saw the box on her bed. It was white with a gold ribbon. She didn't open it yet. She just sat on the edge of the mattress. Her feet ached.
Her brain felt like mush. But the $2,000 debt was almost gone. She just had to survive one dinner. Chapter 6. Night fell over the estate. The house felt too big and too quiet. Gwen showered and changed into a clean t-shirt. She went to the kitchen to find a snack. She found Rhett instead. He sat at the kitchen island. A light from the stove showed the mess on the counter. He had a bowl of water and some torn paper towels. His left hand was still wrapped in the dirty bandage from the hotel. He was trying to undo the knot with his teeth. He looked frustrated. His gold eyes glowed in the dark room. "It won't close," Rhett hissed. He dropped his hand. Blood dripped onto the white stone of the counter. "Rhett, my skin feels like it's on fire. Why isn't the healing kick starting?" Gwen sighed. She walked over and pushed his hand away from his mouth. "Stop that. You'll get an infection. Lycan or not, germs are real." "The silver shards," Rhett said. He looked tired. "The glass was coated in it. It stops the mend. It feels like a punch to the gut that won't go away." "Sit still," Gwen ordered. She went to her tote bag in the hall. She grabbed her vet kit. She had tweezers, antiseptic, and a box of Band-Aids with cartoon bones on them. She came back and sat across from him. "Gwen, his skin feels like a heater. Is he sick or just weird?" She took his hand. It was huge. Her fingers looked tiny against his palm. She began to peel back the old cloth. The wound was deep. Small bits of glass still sat in the red meat of his palm. "This is going to hurt," Gwen said. She didn't wait for him to agree. She used the tweezers to pull out the first shard. Rhett flinched. He gripped the edge of the counter with his other hand. He didn't make a sound, but his eyes flared gold. Gwen worked fast. She pulled out 3 more shards. Each one was coated in a dull gray metal. Silver. Her fingers are small, but they hold me like a trap. I can't move. I don't want to move. "There," Gwen whispered. She poured the antiseptic over the cuts. Rhett hissed. He leaned forward. His face was inches from hers. Gwen could smell the rain and cedar on him. It was thick now. It filled her head. "Gwen, why is he staring at me like I'm a puzzle with a missing piece?" She started to wrap his hand in fresh gauze. As she tucked the end in, her thumb brushed against his wrist. Rhett gasped. A shiver ran through his frame. It wasn't a cold shiver. It was a zap. It felt like a bolt of lightning hit his spine. He gripped her hand. He didn't let go. "Rhett, the shiver is back. It's a riot in my blood. It's her. It has to be her." "Rhett?" Gwen asked. Her heart started to race. "Are you okay? Did I hurt you?" "No," Rhett said. His voice was a low rasp. He looked at their joined hands. "You didn't hurt me. You're just warm." "Gwen, his eyes are so bright. I feel like I'm standing too close to a fire." Gwen pulled her hand back. She felt a weird spark in her own chest, but she ignored it. She was a professional. She put a cartoon bone Band-Aid over the gauze just to be spiteful. "Go to bed, King," Gwen said. She packed her kit. "You need your rest for your big meeting. And stop crushing glass. It's a stupid habit." Rhett didn't move for a long time. He watched her walk out of the kitchen. He looked at the cartoon bone on his hand. He felt the shiver again. It was soft this time. It felt like home. Chapter 7. The next morning,
Gwen felt a surge of energy. She needed to do something with her hands that didn't involve tweezers or staplers. She found a crate of fresh peaches in the pantry. They were ripe and soft. The smell of fresh peaches filled the kitchen. It was a sweet, bright scent. Gwen. These peaches are perfect, sweet and sticky. I'll make a cobbler. It'll keep my mind off the dress. She spent an hour peeling and slicing. She made a thick crust with plenty of butter. She slid the pan into the oven. Soon, the house smelled like sugar and fruit. Even Barnie came into the kitchen. He sat by the oven and barked at the door. "Wait your turn, Barnie," Gwen said. She hummed a song she remembered from her grandmother. The kitchen door swung open. Rhett walked in. He looked better today. His suit jacket was off. His white shirt was unbuttoned at the neck. He stopped and sniffed the air, his gold eyes fixed on the oven. "What is that?" Rhett asked. He walked over to the counter. "Peach cobbler," Gwen said. She pulled the hot pan out of the oven. The fruit bubbled in the corners. It looked like gold. Rhett. "I could eat the whole tray. And maybe the cook. She smells just like the fruit." "I want some," Rhett said. He reached out a hand. He didn't wait for a plate. He just reached for the hot crust. Gwen. "He's reaching. He's like a toddler with a beard. No manners at all." Whack! Gwen hit his hand with a large wooden spoon. The sound echoed in the kitchen. Barnie let out a surprised woof. Rhett froze. He looked at his hand. Then he looked at Gwen. "You hit me," Rhett said. He sounded stunned. "You hit the king of the Lycans with a piece of wood." "It's hot," Gwen snapped. She held the spoon like a sword. "And you didn't ask. I don't care if you're the king of the moon. In this kitchen, I am the boss. You sit at the table, you wait for a bowl, or you get nothing." Rhett. "She hit me with wood. My ancestors are turning in their graves. Why do I find this so exciting?" Rhett didn't growl. He didn't flip the table. He sat down. He looked at Barnie. The dog looked back with a smug grin. "Fine," Rhett said. "I'll wait, but I want a large scoop." Gwen scooped the cobbler into 2 bowls. She put one in front of Rhett and one on the floor for Barnie. She sat down with her own small dish. They ate in silence for a few minutes. The only sound was the clink of spoons and Barnie licking his bowl clean. "This is good," Rhett said. He scraped the bottom of his bowl. "My mother used to make things like this, before the war." "See?" Gwen said. She felt a soft tug in her chest. "Food is better when you don't steal it." Gwen. "He looks almost human when he's eating dessert." "Almost." "Don't get used to it," Gwen added, standing up. "I still have to put on that ridiculously expensive dress. If it doesn't fit..."
"I'm coming back down here and hitting you with the spoon again."
Rhett watched her go. He licked a bit of peach juice off his thumb. He felt a shiver. This time, it tasted like sugar. Chapter 8. 2 hours later, Gwen stood in front of the mirror in her room. The suit was a sleek charcoal gray. It was sharply tailored, paired with a crisp white silk blouse that made her look like a high-powered executive. It covered the small scar on her shoulder from a fence jump when she was 10, making her feel like a different person. She felt like a different person. She felt beautiful. "I look like I own the world. This power suit is dangerous. I need to be careful." She walked down the stairs. Her boots made a dull thud on the wood. She had cleaned them as best she could. She found Rhett in the foyer. He was wearing a fresh black suit. He looked like a storm cloud. He was struggling with a silk tie. It was a dark silver that matched her charcoal suit. He was tugging at it. His face was red. He looked like he wanted to rip the silk in half. "I can't do it," Rhett growled. He saw her on the stairs. He stopped. His jaw dropped. He just stared at her. "Shut your mouth, King," Gwen said. She walked over to him. "You'll catch flies." Rhett. "She's so close I can count the gold flecks in her eyes. I can't breathe." "The tie," Rhett managed to say. He held the silk out to her. Gwen took the silk. She stepped into his space. She had to stand on her toes to reach his neck. Her chest brushed against his jacket. She could feel the heat coming off him. He felt like a forest in the dead of winter. His presence was deep, heavy, and full of ancient power. "Gwen, he smells like a forest after a storm. It's making my brain mushy. Focus, Gwen." She looped the tie. Her fingers danced over the silk. She felt him go still. He wasn't even breathing. He was looking down at her. His gold eyes were bright. "You look," Rhett started. "Don't," Gwen said. She felt her face turn red. She didn't want a compliment. She didn't want to feel the spark again. "I can't breathe. Is she trying to kill me, or is my heart just stopping?" She pulled the knot tight, a bit too tight. Rhett let out a small choke. He gripped her waist to steady himself. His hands were huge. They felt like hot brands through the silk of her blouse. "Pull the silk, tight. Don't let him see your face turn red." "There," Gwen said. She smoothed the silk over his chest. She didn't move away. She couldn't. It felt like there was a magnet between them. "Gwen," Rhett whispered. He leaned down, his nose brushed against hers. "The car is waiting," Gwen said. She pushed him back. She felt like she had just escaped a trap. "Right," Rhett said. He shook his head. He looked confused. He looked like he had just woken up from a dream. "The car, the meeting. Let's go." They walked out to the new SUV that had just been delivered to the front door. It was a matte black beast. Barnie ran out after them. He tried to jump into the car, but Rhett caught him. "No, Barnie," Rhett said. "You stay. Guard the house." Barnie let out a sad whimper. He looked at Gwen. "I'll bring you back a steak," Gwen promised. The dog sat down. He looked at Rhett and let out one sharp bark. It sounded like a warning. They drove away from the estate in silence. The sun was gone now. The world was dark. But inside the car, the air felt like it was about to catch fire. Chapter 9. The dining hall inside the city's most private club smelled like wax and old money. Rhett led Gwen through the double doors, his hand resting on the small of her back. His palm, still wrapped in the gauze and bone Band-Aid, felt like a hot stone through the silk of her sapphire dress. Gwen felt the eyes of every man in the room lock onto her. These were not normal men. They were alphas, from the north, south, and east packs. They sat around a massive, polished, dark walnut table that gleamed under the dim lights. Look at these guys. They have enough hair gel to coat a battleship and enough ego to sink it. A man with hair the color of ash stood up. This was Gideon, the North Pack leader. He wore a gray suit and a sneer that looked permanent. He stared at Gwen's work boots peeking out from under her sharp trousers. "Rhett," Gideon said. His voice sounded like gravel in a tin can. "I heard you found a new toy. I didn't realize you were into charity cases. Is she a vet tech or a stray you found in the rain?" Rhett's grip on Gwen's waist tightened. His gold eyes flared. A low vibration started in his chest. It was a growl, soft but dangerous.
He stepped forward, his boots clicking on the stone floor. Rhett, I will tear his throat out. I will paint this walnut table with his blood for even looking at her like that. She is my fixer, Rhett said. Each word was a snap. And she has more brains in her thumb than your entire pack has in its head. Watch your tongue, Gideon. The human treaty is the only thing keeping you in that chair. Gideon laughed. It was a dry, hollow sound. A fixer? She looks like she just finished cleaning a kennel. Tell me, human, does the king pay you in cash or in scraps from his table? Gwen didn't flinch. She reached into her tote bag, which sat on the chair next to her. She pulled out a turkey sandwich wrapped in foil. She unwrapped it and took a slow, deliberate bite. The sound of her chewing was the only noise in the room. Gwen, this sandwich is dry. I should have added more mayo. I get paid $5,000 a week, Gwen said after she swallowed. She wiped a crumb from her lip. Plus benefits, which is more than I can say for your pack, Gideon. I spent the car ride reading the pack dossiers Rhett gave me. Your territory management is a joke. You have a dozen unresolved border disputes and zero discipline. Maybe you should spend less on hair products and more on training your wolves. The room went cold. Gideon's face turned a deep shade of red. He slammed his fist onto the table. You dare talk to me about money, human? I dare talk to anyone who is a loud toddler in a suit, Gwen replied. She took another bite of her sandwich. Rhett started to move, his eyes locked on Gideon's throat. Gwen reached out and stepped on his foot. Hard. She used the heel of her work boot. Rhett, my toes! Why is she so strong? She's a tiny human and she just crushed my foot. Sit down, Rhett, Gwen said. She didn't look at him. She looked at the other alphas. We are here to talk about land rights, not your feelings. If any of you want to keep your land, you'll listen to what I have to say. Otherwise, I'll find the legal loopholes in your pack charters and have your estates turned into public parks by Tuesday. The alpha sat back. They looked at each other. They looked at the woman in the charcoal suit eating a turkey sandwich. Gwen, they are scared of me. Good. A man with a wolf inside him is easy to handle. A man with a lawyer is the real threat. Gwen spent the next hour roasting their pack dynamics. She pointed out every flaw in their hierarchy. She used words like undisciplined and feral, like they were daggers. By the time the coffee arrived, Gideon was silent and the rest of the alphas were taking notes. As they left the club, Rhett held the door for her. He looked at her with a mix of fear and wonder. You handled them, Rhett said. You didn't even use a weapon. I used my brain, Gwen said. She tossed the foil from her sandwich into a bin. And don't forget the steak for Barnie. You promised. Chapter 10. Back at the estate, the silence felt heavy. Gwen walked through the halls, her boots echoing on the stone. Rhett had gone to his office to deal with the fallout from the meeting. He looked stressed. His hand was still hurting, and he kept rubbing his temple. Gwen was restless. She wandered toward the west wing of the house. She had never been down this hall. The carpet was thick and red. At the end of the hall stood a heavy oak door. It had a brass handle and a lock that looked ancient. Gwen, this is it. The room of secrets. The place where he keeps his playthings. I knew he was hiding something. She tried the handle. It was locked. She reached into her tote bag and pulled out a thin metal probe from her vet kit. She had used it once to get a marble out of a dog's ear. She poked it into the lock and twisted. With a soft click, the door swung open. Gwen stepped inside. The room was dark. She felt for a switch and flipped it.
The light hit the walls. Gwen gasped. She expected chains. She expected dark leather and shadows. Instead, she saw shelves. Hundreds of shelves. They were filled with rubber ducks, plush bones, squeaky squirrels, and tennis balls. There were baskets of chew ropes and a pile of fleece blankets that looked like a mountain of clouds. In the center of the room sat a giant, custom-made dog bed. It was large enough for a person. It was covered in soft gray fur. It's a toy store. He has a toy store for a 10-pound dog. This is the most pathetic thing I've ever seen. She walked to a shelf and picked up a squeaky duck. It was bright yellow. She squeezed it. Squeak! What are you doing in here? Gwen jumped. She turned around to find Rhett standing in the doorway. He looked embarrassed. His face was flushed. He looked at the floor. Rhett. She found it. The room of shame. Now she'll know I'm a soft idiot who buys his dog a new toy every time I feel lonely. I thought this was your dungeon, Gwen said. She held up the duck. Instead, it's a corgi heaven. Why do you have all this, Rhett? He doesn't like me, Rhett said. He walked into the room. He looked at the pile of balls. I thought if I bought him enough things, he would stay in the room with me. I wanted him to be my friend. My heart just did a weird flip. He's a king, and he's trying to buy the love of a bread loaf with fur. You can't buy a dog's love, Gwen said. Her voice was softer now. She put the duck back. You have to earn it. You have to play with him. I don't know how to play, Rhett admitted. I was raised to lead. I was raised to fight. I wasn't raised to throw a squirrel. Gwen looked at the giant man. He looked so small in the room full of toys. She felt a surge of pity. This wasn't a predator trying to trap her. This was a man who didn't know how to be a person. I'm going to regret this. I'm going to end up liking him. Fine, Gwen said. She grabbed a tennis ball. Tomorrow, we are going for a walk. A real walk. You, me, and Barnie. And you are going to learn how to throw a ball without acting like you're launching a missile. Rhett looked at her. A slow smile spread across his face. A walk? In the woods? Yes, Gwen said. But if you try to act alpha in the trees, I'm leaving you there. Chapter 11. The sun was bright the next morning. Gwen wore her navy blue tunic and her trusty boots. She had her tote bag over her shoulder. It was full of treats and a few toys she had stolen from the secret room. Rhett wore a gray t-shirt and dark pants. The t-shirt was tight. It showed the lines of his chest and the curve of his shoulders. Gwen. He should not be allowed to wear shirts that fit like that. It's a distraction. Barney was losing his mind. He ran in circles around Gwen, his short legs moving like a blur. He ignored Rhett completely. Rhett stood by the edge of the forest, looking like he was about to lead a charge into battle. It's just a walk, Rhett, Gwen said. Relax your shoulders. You look like you're waiting for an ambush. In these woods, an ambush is always a possibility, Rhett said. He checked the perimeter. His gold eyes scanned the trees. Rhett, I need to look strong. I need to show her I can protect her. Maybe I'll find a fallen tree and move it. Humans like that, right? They started down the trail. The air smelled like pine and damp earth. It was quiet. The only sound was the rustle of leaves under Gwen's boots. Rhett walked at her side. He was so close she could feel the heat of his arm. Barney, come! Rhett barked. It was a kingly command. It was the voice that made alphas bow. Barney stopped, looked at Rhett, and then took a dump right in the middle of the path. Gwen erupted into laughter. She doubled over, clutching her bag.
He really has your number, Rhett.
Rhett, my dog is a traitor. A round, fluffy traitor. Why does she find this funny? I am a king. Give me a ball, Rhett said. He held out his hand. His bandage was still there, but he didn't seem to care. Gwen reached into her bag and handed him a green tennis ball. Rhett took it. He looked at the ball like it was a grenade. He took a deep breath, wound back his arm, and threw it. The ball disappeared. It flew over the trees, across the clearing, and likely into the next county. It hit a tree in the distance with a loud thwack. Barney didn't move. He just looked at the empty space where the ball used to be. "You can't throw it that hard!" Gwen yelled. She was still laughing. "He's a corgi, Rhett! He has 3-inch legs! He's not a falcon!" "I wanted to show him my strength," Rhett muttered. He looked at his hand. "Gwen, he is so bad at this. It's adorable. Wait, did I just think he was adorable? Shoot me now." "Try again," Gwen said. She handed him a squeaky squirrel. "Softly, like you're tossing a grape." Rhett tried again. This time, the squirrel landed 10 feet away. Barney trotted over, picked it up, and brought it back to Gwen. She gave him a treat. They walked deeper into the forest. Gwen felt the tension in her neck start to fade. The trees were tall and thick. She felt safe here, which was strange. She was in a forest with a Lycan King who could kill her with one hand, but all she could think about was the way the sun hit the gold in his eyes. "Gwen," Rhett said. He stopped walking. "Yeah?" "I wanted to thank you for the meeting, for the dog, for everything." "Rhett, tell her. Tell her she's the only thing that makes this life feel real." "Don't get mushy on me," Gwen said. She felt her face heat up. "I'm just doing my job." "Is that all it is?" Rhett asked. He stepped closer. Before Gwen could answer, a loud metallic noise echoed through the clearing. Clack! Chapter 12. Arg! Rhett's voice was a roar of pain and surprise. Gwen spun around. Rhett was on the ground. His right leg was caught in a heavy, rusted metal trap. It was a coyote trap, but it was larger. The jaws were lined with a dull gray metal that shimmered in the sunlight. Silver. "Rhett!" Gwen ran to him. He was clutching his leg. The trap had snapped shut just above his ankle. The silver was already burning into his skin. His gold eyes were blown wide. He was breathing in short, sharp gasps. "It hurts. It feels like a punch to the gut that never ends. Why did I step there? I was looking at her. I was distracted by a human." "Don't move," Gwen said. She knelt beside him. She saw the silver plating. It was an old trap, likely left by a farmer to keep pests away from the livestock. For a human, it would break a bone. For a Lycan, it was a nightmare. Gwen looked at him. He was a king. He was a warrior. And he was currently trapped in a rusty piece of junk like a common woodchuck. A slow grin spread across Gwen's face. She couldn't help it. The irony was too much. Are you laughing?" Rhett hissed. He was sweating. "I'm sorry," Gwen said, though she didn't sound sorry at all. "But you were just telling me how you're a great hunter. And then you stepped in a pest trap. In your own woods." "I have to document this. No one will ever believe me." She reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. She framed the shot. Rhett, the Lycan King, sitting in the dirt with a coyote trap on his leg. Click. Did you just take a photo? Rhett asked. He sounded genuinely offended. Evidence, Gwen said. She tucked the phone away. I'll delete it if you give me a raise. Rhett, I should be angry. I should be terrifying. But she's smiling. She's actually smiling at me. Even if it's because I'm an idiot. Get it off, Rhett groaned. The silver, it's stopping the healing. It burns. Gwen's face went serious. She knew the silver was dangerous. She reached into her tote bag and pulled out her heavy-duty stapler. She didn't use it on him. She used the metal base of the stapler as a lever. I need you to pull your leg when I press, Gwen said. She positioned the metal base of the stapler directly over the trap's rusted spring lever. She threw her entire body weight onto it. Rhett let out a low growl. The trap groaned. The rust flaked off in red dust as the springs compressed. With a final, loud, metallic clack, the jaws loosened just enough. Rhett yanked his leg free. The skin was charred and black where the silver had touched it. He slumped back against a tree. You're a mess, Gwen said. She sat back on her heels. She reached into her bag and pulled out her antiseptic spray. I'm a king, Rhett corrected, but there was no bite in it. You're a king with a hole in his leg, Gwen said. She sprayed the wound. Rhett flinched, but he didn't pull away. Barnie walked over and licked Rhett's hand. For once, the dog didn't look smug. He looked worried. He's looking at me again, that look, the one that makes me feel like I'm the only person in the world. Let's get you home, Gwen said. She stood up and offered him her hand. But I'm keeping the photo, just in case you get too big for your boots again. Rhett took her hand. He pulled himself up. He leaned on her, his arm heavy across her shoulders. Make me shiver, Gwen, Rhett whispered into her hair. I think the trap did enough of that for one day, she replied. They started the slow walk back to the estate. The sun was starting to set. Gwen felt the weight of him against her. It didn't feel like a burden. It felt like a choice. Chapter 13. Rhett sprawled across the long velvet couch in the main parlor. He looked like a fallen king, his right leg propped up on a stack of luxurious silk pillows that looked like they belonged in a museum. The skin around the silver burn on his ankle was dark red and angry. He groaned every time he shifted his weight, a sound that rumbled deep in his chest. Gwen walked into the room carrying a basin of warm water and a fresh roll of gauze. Stop moving, Gwen ordered. She set the basin on the low walnut table. The more you wiggle, the more it bleeds. You're making a mess of the velvet. It burns, Gwen, Rhett hissed. He gripped the edge of the couch, his knuckles white. Silver is a poison. It feels like a hot iron is rusting on my bone. Rhett, I am a king, but this warm water feels like a hug from a cloud. Gwen, he is acting like a giant baby. A giant, handsome baby who needs to sit still. Gwen knelt on the floor. She dipped a clean cloth into the water and began to wash the charred skin. She worked with a steady hand, her vet tech training taking over. She didn't flinch at the sight of the raw meat of his wound. She had seen worse from stray dogs and angry barn cats. Rhett, why is she so gentle now? I should step in more traps if it means she treats me like this. Gwen, if he groans one more time, I'm putting a clean sock in his mouth to muffle the noise. You were lucky, Gwen said, her voice softer than usual. The trap was old. If the silver plating had been fresh, you'd be down a foot right now. As it is, you just have a very expensive scar in the making. I don't care about the scar, Rhett muttered. He watched her work, his gold eyes tracking every move of her fingers. I care that I looked like a fool in front of you. I was trying to show you I could lead you through the woods, and I ended up as coyote bait. Gwen let out a small, sharp laugh. You did look like a fool, but you also stayed quiet while I opened the jaws. Most men would have screamed. You just growled. She applied a thick layer of healing salve. It was a herbal blend she had mixed herself back at the clinic. It didn't have the magic of lichen blood, but it took the sting out of the silver. Rhett's muscles relaxed as the cool cream hit his skin. You're good at this, Rhett said. He reached out and touched a stray lock of her short hair. You have a gift for fixing things that are broken. I like things that don't talk back, Gwen replied, pulling away slightly. She began to wrap the gauze around his ankle. Dogs are easy. Kings are a lot more work. She pulls away every time I get close. I want to tell her she doesn't have to run. My skin is buzzing where he touched me. It's just static. The rug is wool. It's just physics. Barnie trotted into the room, his nails clicking on the floor. He jumped onto the couch and curled up next to Rhett's head. The dog let out a long sigh and rested his chin on Rhett's shoulder. For once, the Corgi wasn't trying to bite him. See? Gwen said, pinning the gauze in place. Even the dog feels sorry for you. You're officially the house patient. I had my men tow that blue metal coffin back to the driveway, Rhett added, his eyes still closed. It's sitting out front. I didn't want the local birds using it for a nest on the roadside. I hate being the patient, Rhett groaned, but he didn't move. He closed his eyes and let the silence of the room wrap around them. Gwen sat back on her heels, watching the way his chest rose and fell. He looked sweet when he wasn't trying to be a monster. It was a dangerous thought, and she tucked it away deep in her mind. Chapter 14. 2 days later, the mail arrived in a thick stack. Gwen sat at the small desk in her room, her navy blue tunic feeling tight around her shoulders. She sifted through the letters until she found the one with the bank's logo. Her breath caught in her throat. She ripped it open, her fingers shaking. The number at the bottom was not $2,000. It was $10,000. 10,000? Gwen whispered. The words felt like a hammer to her chest. The late fee was only $2,000. They're demanding the full arrears to stop the sale. She read the fine print. Late fees, interest, legal costs for the start of the foreclosure. The bank had added every possible charge they could find. They weren't just taking her house. They were burying her. I am going to lose the house. I am going to be homeless with nothing but a tote bag and a stapler. She has been in that room for an hour. The air smells like stress and old paper. A knock at the door made her jump. She shoved the letter under a pile of books just as Rhett limped into the room. He was using a heavy cane made of dark wood. His ankle was still tender, but he refused to stay on the couch any longer. Gwen, he said. He looked at her face. What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. Nothing, Gwen said, her voice high and tight. Just a bill for my car. The bumper is going to be expensive to replace. I can pay for the car, Rhett said. He stepped closer, the cane thumping on the carpet. I can pay for 10 cars. You shouldn't be worrying about money while you're working for me. I don't want your charity, Rhett, Gwen snapped. She stood up, her jaw set. I told you. I'm an employee. I pay my own way. I'm not some plaything you can just throw cash at to make me smile. I can't ask him. If I take that much money, I'll belong to him. I won't be his pet. She is so proud, it hurts to watch. I want to give her the world, but she acts like I'm offering her a trap. It's not charity to help a friend, Rhett said. His gold eyes were soft. We aren't friends, Gwen lied.
We're a boss and an assistant. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go check on Barnie." She brushed past him, her shoulder hitting his arm. She ran down the stairs and out into the yard, needing the cold air to clear her head. Inside the room, Rhett stood by the desk. He didn't like being lied to. He reached down and pulled the letter from under the books. He read the $10,000 total. He read the address of the house. Rhett, $10,000. That is nothing. It is a drop in a bucket. But to her, it is the end of the world. He pulled his phone from his pocket. The screen was still cracked, but it worked. He made a quick call. "Pay it," he ordered. "The house on Miller Lane. Pay the whole debt. I want the deed cleared by morning, and don't tell her it was me. Tell the bank to list it as an anonymous donor." He hung up and looked out the window. He could see Gwen sitting on a stone bench in the garden, her head in her hands. He felt a shiver in his soul. It wasn't about land or power anymore. It was about making sure she never had that look in her eyes again. "I will fix this for her, even if she hates me when she finds out. I'd rather she be angry and safe than happy and homeless." Chapter 15. The night of the royal ball arrived. The estate was a hive of activity. Tailors and stylists had been in and out of the house all day, but Gwen had chased them all out of her room. She didn't need a team of people to help her put on a dress. She put on the sapphire blue silk gown herself. The fabric felt like water against her skin, heavy and cool. She looked at her reflection. The dress was a work of art. The deep blue color made her eyes pop, and the cut showed off her shoulders and the small scar she carried. She reached for her tote bag and pulled out her scuffed work boots. She shoved her feet into them, the brown leather hidden completely by the long silk skirt. "My boots are a secret rebel under all this silk. I might look like a queen, but I can still kick a shin if I have to. I am waiting at the bottom of the stairs. My heart is beating like a drum. Is breathing important? I think I forgot how." She walked out of her room and headed for the grand staircase. Rhett was waiting at the bottom. He wore a tailored black suit with a sapphire blue tie that matched her dress exactly. He looked like a god of the night. He had ditched the cane, though he still stood with most of his weight on his good leg. As Gwen started down the stairs, Rhett went still. The charcoal business suit from last week had made him stare. But this was different. He didn't even blink. "Rhett?" Gwen asked when she reached the halfway point. "You're doing that thing again, the staring thing." "You look—" Rhett started. He stopped and cleared his throat. "It is much better than the suit." "It should be," Gwen replied, stepping onto the foyer floor. "You put a fortune in a box and left it on my bed. Again." "Rhett, I want to hide her. I want to wrap her in a coat and take her back upstairs where no other wolf can see her." "You look beautiful, Gwen," Rhett said. His voice was a low rasp. He stepped toward her, his gold eyes glowing. "You look like you were born to wear that color. It makes every other light in this house look dim." "Better," Gwen said, though her heart was trying to jump out of her chest. "Now, let's go. I want to get this over with before someone spills wine on me." They walked out to the matte black SUV. The driver opened the door and Rhett helped Gwen inside. His hand was warm on her elbow. She felt a spark of heat where he touched her, a buzz that ran up her arm. "Gwen, it's just a dress. He's just a guy. A guy who owns a kingdom and has gold eyes. Focus, Gwen." "Rhett, I can smell her. The scent is so sweet it makes my head swim. I have to stay focused. Tonight is a trap, and I am the target."
The drive to the royal hall was fast. The building was a palace of white stone and gold leaf. Hundreds of Lycans were already there, their expensive cars lining the drive. As they stepped out of the SUV, a wall of cameras flashed. "Stay close to me," Rhett whispered. He tucked her hand into the crook of his arm. "Try to keep me away," Gwen muttered. She gripped his arm, her fingers finding the hard muscle beneath the suit. She felt like a warrior heading into battle, even if she was draped in a fortune of blue silk. Chapter 16. The ballroom was a sea of shifting colors and the scent of expensive perfume. Lycan lords and ladies moved through the space like sharks in silk. Rhett led Gwen to the center of the floor as the music shifted to a slow, heavy beat. "We have to dance," Rhett said. "The council is watching. They need to see that we are together." "I don't know how to waltz, Rhett," Gwen whispered. She felt a surge of panic. "I'm going to trip over my own boots." "Just follow me," Rhett said. He put his hand on her waist. His palm was hot, the heat soaking through the silk. He pulled her closer until their chests were almost touching. "His hand is so hot. My skin is buzzing like I've been plugged into a wall." "This is it. The shiver is going to knock me off my feet if I don't hold on to her." They started to move. Rhett was a natural dancer, his movements smooth despite his injured ankle. He guided her through the steps, his body a solid anchor in the middle of the crowd. Gwen found her rhythm, her boots sliding easily over the polished wood. "Don't fall. Don't fall for the music. Don't fall for the look in his eyes. I've got her. I'll never let her hit the floor. I'll never let anything touch her." As they spun, Gwen looked up at him, the lights of the chandeliers reflected in his gold eyes. She felt a tug in her chest, a physical pull that had nothing to do with the dance. It was the shiver. It hit her like a bolt of lightning, a sudden zap that made her breath hitch. "Gwen?" Rhett asked. He felt it too. The air between them seemed to vibrate. Suddenly, Gwen's boot caught on the long hem of her dress. She stumbled, her balance vanishing. She let out a small gasp as she started to tilt backward. Rhett reacted in a blur. He didn't just catch her. He swept his arm around her back and pulled her flush against him. He dipped her low, his face inches from hers. A collective gasp went up from the crowd. It wasn't just the save. It was the energy. A physical wave of power rolled off them, a visible shiver that made the candles in the chandeliers flicker. "Everyone is looking. I should be embarrassed, but I can't look away from him." "Let them look. Let them see that she is mine. Let them see that the king has finally found his match." "Are you okay?" Rhett whispered. His voice was thick with emotion. "You caught me," Gwen said. Her voice was barely a breath. "I always will," Rhett replied. He pulled her back up to her feet. They stood in the center of the floor, the music still playing, that neither of them moved. The plaything misunderstanding was gone. The assistant label was a joke. In that moment, in the middle of a room full of monsters, they were the only two people who mattered. Chapter 17. The music from the dance still rang in Gwen's ears. She stood with Rhett near the marble fountain in the hall. Water splashed over stone statues of wolves. The air turned cold. It was not the weather. It was the mood. A woman walked toward them. She wore a red dress that looked like liquid rubies. It showed a lot of skin. She had long hair the color of midnight. Her eyes were blue, but they looked like ice. This was Salah. She was a high Lycan. She looked at Gwen like Gwen was a bug. "This woman looks like she eats raw hearts for breakfast. I bet her soul is as dry as a desert." "Salah? Why is she here?"
She brings nothing but trouble and old grudges. Red is not her color. It makes her look like a fire truck with an attitude. I need to get Gwen away from her. Selah has teeth, and she likes to use them. Rhett, Selah said. Her voice was like honey poured over glass. I see you brought a pet to the ball. I didn't know the king liked to play in the mud. Rhett pulled Gwen closer. His hand was warm on her waist. Selah, Gwen is my assistant. And my partner for the night. You should show some respect. Selah let out a sharp laugh. A partner? She's a human, Rhett. She's a plaything. A doll you dressed up in blue silk to hide the dirt. Look at her boots. She's still a peasant. Gwen looked down. Her scuffed work boots were visible because she was standing on the fountain ledge. She stepped down, her jaw set. She felt the rough side of her temper flare up. She had dealt with rich pack members at the clinic for years. She knew this type. Here we go. The high Lycan thinks she can talk down to me. I've handled more dangerous things in a dog crate. Listen, Ruby, Gwen said. She crossed her arms. I don't know who you are, but you have a lot of nerve. You're wearing a dress that looks like it was stitched together by a blind spider. It's too tight. You look like you're about to pop out of it like a soda can. Selah gasped. Her face went pale. You dare? I am a lady of the North. You're a lady who needs a better mirror, Gwen countered. And if you call me a pet again, I'll show you how a human handles a pest. I have a stapler in my bag that has your name on it. Rhett stepped between them. He looked like he was trying not to smile. That's enough. Selah, leave. Now. Selah turned on her heel. She stomped away. Her red heels clicked on the floor like gunshots. The sound faded into the noise of the crowd. You're a menace, Rhett whispered. She started it, Gwen said. She adjusted her dress. But she's right about one thing. I don't belong here. This dress is just a beautiful, expensive lie. Rhett, she called her a soda can. That is the best thing I have ever heard. Gwen, she's shaking. Good. Let her shake. I'm not some toy. Rhett, Gwen is roasting her. I should stop it, but I'm too busy trying to keep a straight face. Gwen, my boots are the only real thing in this room. The ball continued around them. The lights felt too bright. Gwen felt the weight of the silk. It was heavy. She looked at Rhett. He was a king. He lived in a world of silver traps and red dresses. She lived in a world of mortgage bills and cat hair. Let's go home, Gwen said. Rhett nodded. He limped toward the door. Every step on his right ankle made him grit his teeth. He didn't complain. He just held her arm. They walked out to the matte black SUV. The driver opened the door. Gwen climbed in and felt the cool leather. She just wanted to be back in her grandmother's house, even if the roof leaked. Chapter 18. The next morning, Gwen woke up in the estate. She went to her room to grab her tote bag. She moved a book on her desk. The letter from the bank was gone. She felt a jolt of panic. She checked the drawers. Empty. Gwen. I left it right here, under the book about dog health. It didn't just walk away. She ran downstairs. Her boots thudded on the stairs. She found Rhett in the library. He sat in a chair. He was reading a file. His bandaged hand held a pen. Where is it? Gwen asked. Rhett looked up. Where is what? The letter. From the bank, the one for $10,000. Rhett set the file down. He didn't look ashamed. I took it. I told you, I don't like secrets in my house. You had no right, Gwen shouted. Her voice hit the high ceiling. That is my life, my debt, my business. It's not a debt anymore, Rhett said. He spoke with a calm voice. I called the bank. I paid the $10,000. The house is yours. The deed is clear. Gwen felt a heat rise in her chest. It was not a spark. It was fire. She felt like she had been hit, not a punch, but something that left her breathless. Gwen, he bought me. He actually bought me. I'm just a bill he paid to feel good. Rhett, why is she screaming? I saved her home. I thought she would be happy. Gwen, I hate him. I hate his gold eyes and his piles of money. She looks like she wants to hit me with that spoon again. I should have kept the letter hidden longer. You think you can just fix everything with a checkbook? Gwen stepped toward him. I told you I didn't want your charity. I wanted to earn that money. Now every time I look at my house, I'll see your face. I'll see the man who thought I was too weak to save myself. I didn't think you were weak, Rhett said. He stood up. He forgot to use his cane. He winced as his ankle took the weight. I thought you were in trouble. I have more money than I can spend in 100 years. Why wouldn't I help? Because I'm not your pet, Gwen screamed. You treat me like Barnie. You throw treats at me so I'll stay. Well, I'm not staying. I don't want to be your plaything. Gwen, get to the car. Get away. Even if the car has no bumper. Rhett, she's leaving. My heart just felt like someone squeezed it with pliers. Gwen, I can't breathe. Everything is blue silk and lies. I have to stop her, but if I touch her, she'll hate me more. She turned to run. She grabbed her tote bag from the hall table. She ran out the front doors. She reached her navy blue sedan. It sat in the drive looking sad. She jumped in, dug the keys out of her tote bag, and jammed them into the ignition. The engine let out a pathetic click. Then silence. Gwen slammed her hands against the steering wheel. Start! You piece of junk, start! It didn't start. It sat there, dead and cold. Gwen leaned her head against the wheel and sobbed. She had no money. She had a house she didn't earn, and she had a car that was as broken as she felt. Rhett stood on the porch. He watched her. He didn't come down. He knew she needed space. He looked at his bandaged hand. The cartoon bone Band-Aid was still there. He felt like a fool. He had tried to be a hero, and he had turned into the villain. Chapter 19. Gwen didn't leave. She couldn't. Her car was a hunk of metal. She sat on the porch of the estate, watching the clouds roll in. The sky went black. It was noon, but it looked like midnight. Thunder shook the windows. A heavy rain started to fall. It didn't just rain, it poured, a violent storm slamming against the glass. Inside the house, the lights flickered. Then, they died. The whole estate went dark. Outside, the security team scrambled toward the north fence, where a tree had crushed the gate, leaving the main halls empty. Great! Now I'm trapped in a dark castle with a man I want to punch. This is a bad movie. The lights are out. The house is full of shadows. And spiders. I hate spiders. My phone is at 5%. Good thing I have my clinic pen light. I can't see properly. My eyes glow, but they don't help with the corners. What was that noise? Gwen walked into the kitchen. She used the small, harsh beam of her medical pen light. She found Rhett. He was holding a single candle. His hand shook. He was looking at the corners of the ceiling. Are you afraid of the dark? Gwen asked. I'm not afraid, Rhett said. His voice was tight. I don't like what I can't see. Things crawl in the dark. A spider crawled across the counter. It was small, but to Rhett, it might as well have been a dragon. He jumped back. He almost knocked the candle over. Gwen. He is a Lycan King. He fights monsters, but a spider makes him dance. Rhett. It has too many legs. Why does it need 8 legs? 1 is enough for anyone. He looks like a scared kid. My anger is melting. I hate that it's melting. She's looking at me. She sees my fear. I am a joke to her. Gwen walked over. She picked up a paper towel. She killed the spider with one quick movement. She tossed it in the bin. She took the candle from his shaking hand and set it on the counter. "It's okay," she said. She held his hand. It was hot. The shiver hit them both. It was loud this time. It felt like a clap of thunder inside her own chest. In the dark, they stood close. The only light was the small flame of the candle. "Gwen," he whispered. "I'm still mad at you," she said. But she didn't pull her hand away. "I know," he replied. "I'm sorry. I wanted you to have one less thing to worry about." He leaned down. He didn't ask this time. He just kissed her. It was not a soft kiss. It was desperate. It felt like fire. It felt like the first real thing that had happened since she met him. She kissed him back. She gripped his shirt. She forgot about the bank. She forgot about the house. "Gwen, he tastes like honey." "No, he tastes like a home. I'm lost." "Rhett, finally. This is what I was looking for. This is the shiver." "Gwen, I should stop. I really should stop. In 5 minutes." "Rhett, I'll never let her go. Dark or not, I've got her." The storm raged outside. The wind howled. But inside the kitchen, it was quiet. They stayed there, held together by the dark and the heat. Chapter 20. The next day, the power came back on, but the mood in the house was still heavy. Pete, the beta, was acting strange. He had been quiet all morning. He kept looking at Rhett's injured ankle. He knew the king was not at full strength. He knew about the $10,000. He thought Rhett had gone soft. Pete cornered Gwen in the long hallway near the laundry room. He had a knife. It was silver. It shimmered with a mean light. "The king is done," Pete said. He stepped closer. "He pays off the debts of a human girl instead of paying his own guards. He hides in the dark. He's not fit to lead the pack." "Gwen, this guy has bad breath and a worse plan. He thinks I'm a victim." "Rhett, I can't find Gwen. Where is she? My ankle is throbbing and I feel a chill." "Gwen, he's waving that knife like a toy. I've seen sharper claws on a kitten." "Rhett, Pete is missing too. If he touches her, I'll burn this whole estate down." "Listen, Pete," Gwen said. She kept her voice steady. She saw the open door behind him. It was the linen closet. It was deep and had a heavy lock on the outside. "You're making a mistake. Rhett will kill you." "Rhett can barely walk," Pete laughed. He raised the knife. "But I'll start with you. I'll show him what happens to his weakness." Gwen didn't scream. She didn't run. She looked over Pete's shoulder. Her eyes went wide. "Rhett!
Behind you!"
Pete fell for it. He turned around, swinging the knife at nothing. Gwen didn't waste a second. She put her shoulder into his chest. She used all her weight. She shoved him back. Pete tumbled into the linen closet. He hit a pile of towels and fell. Gwen slammed the door.
She turned the heavy key in the lock. Click. Gwen. Stapler for self-defense? A closet works better. I'm a genius. Rhett. I hear a noise. A banging sound. It's coming from the laundry hall. Gwen. I need a drink.
And a new job. Maybe a vacation in a place with no wolves.
She trapped him in a closet. My girl is a warrior. Rhett limped around the corner. He saw Gwen standing there. She was holding the key. She looked like she wanted to spit nails. Pete is in the closet, Gwen said. She gripped the key tight, her knuckles white. He has a silver knife. He tried to kill me. Rhett's face went dark. His gold eyes glowed with a light that made the hallway bright. He looked at the door.
Pete was screaming and kicking inside. He touched you? Rhett asked.
His voice was a low growl.
No, Gwen said. I handled it.
But you need to fix your pack, Rhett. They're getting messy. Rhett looked at her. He saw her rough side. He saw the fire in her eyes. He didn't see a plaything. He saw a queen. I'll fix it, Rhett said. I promise. Good, Gwen said. She walked past him. Now, go deal with your traitor. I'm going to go find Barnie. He's the only one in this house I can trust.
Chapter 21. The laundry hall felt small and cramped.
Pete hammered on the closet door from the inside, his muffled screams bouncing off the walls. Gwen stood with her back to the wood, her boots planted firm on the tile. She held the heavy iron key like a shield against the thumping door. Rhett stood a few feet away, leaning his weight against the wall. His face was pale, and sweat beaded on his forehead. The silver burn on his right ankle throbbed with a dull heat that moved up his leg.
Give me the key, Gwen, Rhett said.
His voice was a low rasp. His gold eyes tracked the door as it shook under Pete's kicks. Not until you sit down, Gwen snapped. She pointed at a nearby bench used for folding sheets. You're shaking. If you open this door now, he'll bowl you over like a strike at a bowling alley. Gwen. I've seen more dignity in a drunk poodle than in this pack right now. Rhett. She's bossing me around while a traitor is trying to claw through the wood. I should be mad,
but I just want to kiss her again.
I am the king, Rhett reminded her, though he did slide toward the bench. He sat with a wince, his right leg stretched out. I do not hide while my people try to kill my assistants. You're a patient with a silver hole in his leg, Gwen countered. She reached into her tote bag and felt for her phone. The screen lit up with a red warning, 5%. Great, my phone is dying, the house power is a mess, and I have a crazy wolf in a closet. This job should pay $10,000 a week, not $5,000. He's limping so bad he can barely stand. He needs to stop trying to be a hero for 5 minutes. My ankle feels like it was chewed by a saw. I need to look strong, but the world is starting to tilt. Rhett looked at his bandaged left hand. The cartoon bone Band-Aid was peeling at the edges. He felt a wave of shame. He was supposed to be the protector, the shield for his pack. Instead,
a human girl in a stained tunic was standing guard over him.
Pete has a silver knife, Gwen said, her voice dropping. He said you were soft. He said you spent too much money on me. I spent what was needed, Rhett growled. I'd spend every cent in the royal vault just to see her smile without a stapler in her hand. He's looking at me with those gold eyes again. It makes my skin buzz like I'm holding a live wire. I hate that I don't hate it. Suddenly, the banging stopped. The silence in the hall was worse than the noise. Gwen stepped away from the door, her heart hammering against her ribs. She looked at the heavy lock. It was a good lock, but the wood was old. Gwen, get behind me, Rhett ordered. He tried to stand, but his right ankle gave a sharp crack of pain. He hissed and fell back onto the bench. "Stay put," Gwen hissed. She gripped the key tighter. "Gwen, if he bleeds on this rug, the cleaning bill is coming out of his pocket."
I am the king, and I am currently being rescued by a girl who smells like...
Wait, I'm not supposed to notice that. Focus, Rhett. The door groaned. A silver blade poked through the wood near the handle. Pete wasn't kicking anymore. He was cutting. The silver shimmered in the dim light of the hallway, a mean, cold light. "I'm going to find Barnie," Gwen whispered, her eyes wide. "He's the only one with any sense."
Barnie is a dog, Gwen. He can't fight a silver knife,
Rhett yelled, but she was already moving toward the kitchen. Chapter 22. Gwen skidded into the kitchen, her boots sliding on the tile. She found Barney sitting under the table, his head cocked to the side. He looked at her with his usual judging expression.
"Barney, move! We have a problem!"
Gwen grabbed a heavy ceramic vase from the counter. It was a deep red color and felt as heavy as a bowling ball. It felt solid in her hands. "This vase is heavy enough to crack a skull. I hope it's not an antique."
Rhett. I can hear her running. She's going to get herself killed. I have to move. I have to.
Back in the hall, the closet door exploded outward. Pete stumbled out, his hair messy and his eyes red with rage. He held the silver knife tight. He looked at Rhett, who was struggling to stand. "Time to end the line, King," Pete spat. He stepped forward, the knife raised. "Try it," Rhett growled. He stood on one leg, his back against the wall. He raised his fists, his gold eyes glowing like lanterns in the dark hall. Pete lunged. He was fast, even for a beta, but he wasn't looking at the floor. Barney shot out of the kitchen like a furry cannonball. The Corgi didn't bark. He didn't growl. He just aimed for Pete's trailing ankle. His teeth sank into the leather of Pete's boot and the meat beneath it. "Gah!" Pete screamed. He tripped, his balance vanishing. The silver knife flew from his hand and clattered across the floor. "Rhett, my dog just saved my life. I am never going to hear the end of this from Gwen." "Barney has better aim than any alpha I've ever met. Go for the shins, buddy!" Gwen didn't wait. She marched forward, the red vase held high. Pete tried to scramble up, but Barney was still hanging onto his leg, growling like a chainsaw. "Stay down!" Gwen yelled. She swung the vase with everything she had. The ceramic smashed against Pete's head with a loud thwack. Shards of red clay flew everywhere. Pete's eyes rolled back in his head, and he slumped to the floor, out cold. Barney let go of his leg and let out a smug little woof. "Rhett, I am the king, and I am currently being rescued by a bread loaf with teeth and a girl with a vase. My life is a joke. Gwen, that vase was definitely worth whatever he paid for it. I should buy 10 more. Rhett sank back onto the bench, his chest heaving. He looked at Pete, then at the silver knife on the floor, then at Gwen. She stood there, her hair messy, holding the neck of the broken vase like a jagged dagger. "Is he dead?" Rhett asked. "Just a nap," Gwen said. She finally dropped the jagged ceramic neck. Her hands were shaking now. "I'm calling the police, or the wolf police, whoever handles this mess." "The enforcers," Rhett said. He reached out and pulled Gwen toward him. He didn't care about the broken glass. He just needed to feel her near him. "You did it," he whispered. "Barney did it," Gwen corrected, though she let him hold her hand. "I just finished the job. Now let's get this trash out of your hallway before it starts to smell." Chapter 23. The next few hours were a blur of motion. The enforcers arrived in 2 matte black SUVs. They were large men with cold eyes who didn't say much. They hauled Pete away in silver-lined cuffs. They took the silver knife as evidence. Gwen sat at the kitchen table watching them work. She had a cup of tea in her hands, but she hadn't touched it. The pack was in a state of shock. Word had spread about the beta's betrayal. Leaders from the nearby packs were calling Rhett's phone, which he had finally plugged in to charge. "The filing system in this place is a crime against humanity," Gwen muttered. She stood up and walked into Rhett's office. "A pack of wolves is just a bunch of rowdy dogs with bank accounts. They need an adult in the room." "She's barking orders at my commanders, and they're actually doing it. Why are they listening to her?" Rhett sat in his desk chair, his leg propped up. He watched Gwen as she began to sort through the piles of paper on his desk. She moved with a purpose, her vet tech brain taking over. She organized the files by date, by pack rank, and by priority. "You, with the scars," Gwen pointed at a high-ranking enforcer. "Stop standing there. Go find the incident reports and the guard schedules." Half the perimeter was left wide open last night because Pete was assigning his buddies to the easy shifts. The enforcer blinked. He looked at Rhett. Rhett just nodded. The man scurried off to find the files. "Gwen, this is easier than a busy Saturday at the clinic. At least these guys don't try to bite me when I check their records." "Rhett, I've never seen a stapler used with such authority. She's not just a fixer. She's a force of nature." "And you," Gwen looked at another wolf, "clean up the glass in the hall. Use a vacuum, not a broom. Silver dust is bad for the lungs." "Gwen," Rhett said, his voice soft, "you don't have to do this. You're not on the clock anymore." "Someone has to do it," Gwen said. She slammed a folder shut. "If I leave this to you, you'll just growl at the papers until they move. Your pack is a mess, Rhett. You're a great king, but you're a terrible manager." She spent the afternoon fixing the chaotic scheduling hole Pete had created. She organized the patrols, logged the territory disputes, and threw out stacks of useless paperwork. By sunset, the office was clean, the guards were posted, and the pack was quiet. "I've seen cleaner cat boxes than this office, but at least now I can see the desk." "She's making me look like a king again. How can I let her walk away after this?" Gwen finally sat down in the chair across from him. She looked tired. There was a smudge of ink on her cheek. "Done," she said. "The traitor is gone. The schedules are fixed, and Barnie has had 3 steaks." "I owe you for this," Rhett said. "Just pay my weekly salary," Gwen said. She looked at her phone. Now that the power was back on and it had been plugged into the wall for an hour, the battery sat at 80%. "And don't ever mention the red vase again. It was a tragedy." Chapter 24. The estate was finally quiet. The enforcers had left, and the moon was high in the sky. Gwen stood in the lobby, the same place she had first seen Rhett. She had her tote bag over her shoulder. Her navy blue sedan was still dead in the driveway, but Rhett had promised to have it towed and fixed by morning. "I should go," Gwen said. She looked at the floor. "The job is done." "The job is never done," Rhett said. He walked toward her. He wasn't using the cane anymore, but he still had a slight limp. He stopped a few inches away. "Gwen, he's been obsessed since I threw a pill at him. Men are weird." "I've been waiting to say this since the day she called me a toddler." "I felt it in the lobby," Rhett said. His voice was a low vibration in the air. "The second that bottle hit my chest, I felt the zap. I thought I was just angry, but it was the shiver, Gwen. It was you." Gwen looked up at him. "The lobby? I called you a drama queen. I told you that you were embarrassing yourself." "Exactly," Rhett smiled. It was a real smile, one that reached his gold eyes. No one had ever talked to me like that. "You looked at a Lycan King and saw a loud toddler. You didn't fear me. You just wanted me to be better." The shiver feels like sticking a fork in a toaster, but in a good way. It's hitting me now. Hard. She's finally stopped trying to staple me. That's progress. I can see it in her eyes. She feels it too. Gwen felt it then. A sudden surge of heat that started in her toes and moved up to her heart. It wasn't a spark. It was a bolt of lightning. It made her breath hitch and her knees go weak. She reached out and grabbed his shirt to stay upright. Is that what that is?" she whispered. "That's the bond," Rhett said. He put his arms around her, holding her steady. "It's not a plaything's leash, Gwen. It's a partnership. I don't want to buy you. I want to stand next to you while you staple the rest of the world into place." "Gwen, I'm going to stay." "I'm going to stay, and I'm going to be a queen with a heavy-duty stapler. God help them all." Rhett. She's not pulling away. She's finally home. "I'm still keeping the photo of you in the trap," Gwen said, though she leaned her head against his chest. "I'd expect nothing less," Rhett laughed. They stood in the quiet lobby, held together by a magic they both finally understood. The shiver was loud, a steady beat that matched their hearts. Outside, the world was still full of monsters and silver traps. But inside, the king and his fixer were exactly where they were meant to be. Chapter 25. The matte black SUV pulled onto Miller Lane. The road had more holes than a cheese grater. Rhett sat in the passenger seat. He tried to keep his head from hitting the roof every time they hit a bump. His right ankle still felt stiff. He had a slight limp when they stepped out onto the gravel. Gwen's navy blue sedan was already gone, having been hauled to the mechanic as promised to fix the engine and the bumper. Gwen stood in front of the small house. The white paint was peeling in long strips. The porch sagged on the left side like it was tired of standing. It was a tiny place. It looked like a toy compared to Rhett's stone estate. Gwen adjusted her navy blue tunic. It still had the ink smudge on the pocket from the office work. Her scuffed boots kicked a loose stone. He's going to hit his head on the ceiling if he stands up too straight. It's so quiet here. No council, no bickering pack members, just the wind. It isn't much, Gwen said. She pulled her key from her tote bag. But it's mine. Well, it's mine because you paid the bank $10,000. I'm still not happy about that. The deed is clear, Rhett said. He walked toward the porch. He moved with care. That is all that matters. You shouldn't have to work for a roof that leaks. They stepped inside. The air smelled like dust and old books. The living room had one small couch and a chair that had seen better days. A faded rug covered the wood floor. Gwen watched Rhett look around. He was so big that the room felt even smaller. Gwen, I bet he's never seen a kitchen this tiny in his life. Rhett, everything is so small and soft. I can see her life here. It fits her. Rhett sat down on the old chair. It creaked under his weight. He didn't look annoyed. He looked at peace. He leaned back and let out a long breath. I like it, Rhett said. It's normal. No one is trying to kill me in this living room. No one wants my crown here. The sink drips, Gwen warned him, and the heater makes a sound like a ghost in the basement. It's not a palace, Rhett. Gwen, why does he look so happy in a dusty room? He's the king of the Lycans. Rhett, I could live here as long as she's in it. I don't need the stone walls or the gold. Gwen sat on the arm of the couch. She looked at him. His gray t-shirt was wrinkled. His bandaged left hand rested on his knee. He looked like a regular man. For a second, she forgot about the silver traps and the gold eyes. "You're a weird guy," Gwen said. She felt a spark in her chest. It wasn't a shock. It was warm. Most kings would be looking for the exit. "He's actually sitting on my grandma's old chair, and he looks like he belongs." "Rhett, this chair is older than most of my pack members. It's sturdy, like her." "I've spent my life in big rooms with cold hearts," Rhett said. He reached out and took her hand. "I'd rather be in a small room with you. This house has a soul, Gwen. It doesn't need to be huge to be important." Gwen felt the shiver. It was a soft hum in her blood. She didn't pull away. She leaned her head against his shoulder. The house was small and falling apart, but for the first time, it didn't feel like a burden. It felt like a beginning. Chapter 26. They were back at the estate a day later. The sun was setting, turning the sky the color of a bruised plum. Rhett had been acting strange all evening. He kept touching his pocket. He followed Gwen into the kitchen. She was busy putting away the new groceries. She had used some of her salary to buy the good coffee. Rhett stopped her by the counter. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a box. It was black velvet. He opened it. Inside was a ring. The diamond was the size of a grape. It glittered under the kitchen lights. "I want you to be my queen," Rhett said. His gold eyes were bright. "This diamond is flawless. It's a stone from the northern mines." Gwen stared at the ring. She felt the rough side of her heart kick in. A flawless diamond. That was a house. That was a fleet of cars. It was too much. It was a weight she didn't want to carry. "Gwen, flawless diamond? I could buy a whole fleet of cars and a new house for that." She's going to yell at me for going all out. I can see the steam coming out of her ears. "No," Gwen said. She pushed his hand away. "No?" Rhett looked like she had hit him with the wooden spoon again. "Why no?" "It's too much, Rhett," Gwen snapped. Her jaw was tight. "You're trying to buy me again. You're trying to put a price tag on my finger. I'm not a plaything. I won't wear a house on my hand." He thinks he can fix me with a rock. He still hasn't learned a thing. I just want her to have the best things. I want the world to know she's mine. Rhett closed the box. He looked at the floor. He looked like a kicked dog. He stayed quiet for a long time. Then he reached into his other pocket. He pulled out a small piece of cloth. He unwrapped it. Inside was a simple white gold band. It was thin and plain. It had a single small stone. The stone was a soft peach color. It wasn't a diamond. It was just a pretty rock from a creek bed. "I bought this at a shop in the village," Rhett said. His voice was low. "It didn't cost a fortune. It's just a ring, Gwen. No price tags, no mines, just a promise." "The silver doesn't hurt him anymore?" "Oh, wait, he said it was white gold." He thought about it. "It feels cool against my skin now. I hope this one is enough." Gwen looked at the small silver band. She looked at the peach-colored stone. It was simple. It was honest. It was exactly what she wanted. She felt the shiver hit her like a warm wave. A peach stone. He remembers. He actually remembers. She said yes. Well, she hasn't said it yet, but her eyes are soft. My chest feels like it might burst. "Yes," Gwen whispered. She held out her hand. Rhett slid the silver band onto her finger. It fit perfectly. He didn't say anything about the cost. He didn't mention the pack. He just kissed her knuckles. "I don't need a diamond," Gwen said. She pulled him into a hug.
I just need you to stop being a drama queen about the money.
"I'll try," Rhett laughed. "But I'm still a king. A little drama is in the job description." Chapter 27. The wedding was held in the woods near the estate. It wasn't in a church or a hall. It was under the tall trees where the silver trap had been. The pack members stood in a circle. They wore their best suits, but many of them had dirt on their shoes. Gwen wore a simple white dress. It wasn't blue silk this time. It was cotton. It was comfortable. She still wore her scuffed boots under the hem. Rhett stood by a large, mossy rock. He wore a black suit that looked sharp. His hand was still bandaged, but he didn't care. He looked at Gwen like she was the only person on the planet. "Gwen, I am wearing a dress in the dirt. But this time, it's my choice. And it's comfortable. Rhett, she is the most beautiful thing under these trees. I am the luckiest wolf alive." The ceremony was fast. There were no long speeches. There were no ancient laws to read. They just promised to stand by each other. They promised to fix what was broken. When Rhett kissed her, the whole pack let out a howl that shook the leaves from the trees. It was a sound of joy. Barnie is looking at the cake with a plan. He's been eyeing the frosting for 10 minutes. "I'm a king, but I'm her husband first. The crown feels lighter today." They walked over to the reception table. It was covered in food. There was a large cake in the center. It had white frosting and small silver pearls. Barnie was sitting on a chair next to the table. He looked very serious. Suddenly, the dog made his move. Barnie jumped. He was a round blur of fur. He landed right in the middle of the cake. Frosting flew everywhere. He started to eat the vanilla sponge like his life depended on it. He didn't care about the guests. He didn't care about the wedding. He just wanted the sugar. Rhett looks like he's won the lottery, even with a dog in the cake. The dog is definitely going for the frosting. I should be mad, but I can't stop smiling. "Barnie!" Rhett yelled, but he was laughing. The guests started to laugh too. It was a mess. There was cake on the rug. There was frosting on Barney's nose. Gwen grabbed a spoon and took a bite from the side of the cake that was still standing. "It's good," she said. She wiped a bit of sugar from her lip. "I hope there's enough food for the whole pack. They look hungry. I've never been this happy in my whole life. A messy wedding is the best kind." "Let him have it," Rhett said. He pulled Gwen close. "We have everything we need right here. A broken cake and a happy dog. It's perfect." They danced in the dirt. The music was just the sound of the wind and the wolves. Gwen felt the silver ring on her finger. She felt the shiver in her heart. She wasn't a plaything. She wasn't an assistant. She was home. Chapter 28. A few weeks later, the estate was finally calm. The sun was shining through the kitchen windows. Gwen sat at the walnut table. She was wearing her navy blue tunic. It was clean this time. Her sedan was parked in the driveway looking as good as new. The bumper was shiny and the engine didn't clunk anymore. She had already insisted on a payment plan to reimburse Rhett for the parts, a move that had made him roll his eyes, but it was the only way she'd agree to drive it. Rhett walked into the kitchen. He was carrying a tray with 2 cups of tea. He still had a slight limp, but he moved with ease. He set the tray down on the table. "The tea is hot," Rhett warned. He sat down and took a sip. He immediately made a face and set the cup back down. "It's too hot. It's like drinking lava." "He's pouting about tea." Some things never change. He's still a drama queen. My tea is like lava.
Why is it always so hot when I'm thirsty?
Take a chill pill, Rhett, Gwen said. She reached into her tote bag. She pulled out the small plastic bottle from the hotel. There were still a few pills left inside. Rhett looked at the bottle. He looked at Gwen. He didn't crush it this time. He didn't act like a monster. He reached out and took one of the herbal pills. He swallowed it with a gulp of water. Gwen, I still have the photo on my phone. I'm never deleting it. It's my favorite thing. I'll take whatever she gives me, even if it's a herbal pill that smells like grass. Better? Gwen asked. Better, Rhett said. He leaned over and kissed her cheek. You were right, as usual. I was overreacting. I love this big dumb wolf. He's a lot of work, but he's worth every second. She's the boss, and I'm okay with that. Being a king is easier when she's around. They sat together in the quiet kitchen. Barnie was sleeping on the rug. The house was full of light. There were no silver traps in the hall. There were no traitors in the closets. There was just a man and a woman who had found a way to bridge the gap between their worlds. Are you going to keep working at the clinic? Rhett asked. Twice a week, Gwen said. I like fixing things. And your pack still needs a manager. They're still messy. Gwen. He actually took the pill. I think I've finally trained him. Rhett. Life is finally quiet. No more shivering for the wrong reasons.
As long as you stay, Rhett said.
He took her hand. The silver band felt warm against his skin. I'm not going anywhere, Gwen said. She looked at him with her sharp, witty eyes. Someone has to keep you from stepping in traps. It's a full-time job. Rhett laughed. The sound was bright and clear. He pulled her into a hug, his chest warm against her. The shiver was there, a steady beat that told them they were exactly where they belonged. The end. Quick favor, don't go anywhere yet. If you thought Gwen was fearless for threatening to staple the Lycan King's eyelids shut, wait until you meet the heroine in this next story on your screen. You have to hear this disaster unfold. Click the video on your screen right now. It is completely unhinged.